Ah, this is the Reading Rainbow Emperor, and today we're returning to my favorite literary subject, John C. Wright. This time we look at his awesome tome, Somewhither. It's a trip in all the good ways. I wish this book had come in soft or hardcover. Oh well, it's got a great audiobook as well. Do check it out. I'll have links down below. Ilya Muromets has never quite fit in, but he dreams of heroics and exploring new worlds, where maybe he would find the world he would fit in most of all. After revealing that Professor Dreadful, the bipolar linguist mad scientist, has escaped the asylum, he goes to the Museum of the Strange to save the professor's beautiful daughter, Penny Dreadful. However, a gateway to the mysterious Twilight world is open, and he is sucked into the in-between. There's a lot of faffing about, where Ilya discovers he is immortal, captured and tortured, and then broken out of jail by Abby, a sort of Chaldean ninja who is alone of all the inhabitants of the Tower of Babel that reaches out to the Lagrange points in space, invisible to the stars who, through horoscopes, control the very minute to lives of their slaves. It's a trip. The two of them have adventures, most notably the Waterfall of Metal, where they fight snarking werewolves and get separated. Ilya has an awesome encounter with a pharaoh's restless ghost and heads back down the tower, now with a headless giant Nakasu. After more adventures, they meet back up with Abby and her master Ossifrage in the nine-pointed horoscope chamber for the abominations. Ilya declares that he will break down the tower with the name of Yahweh and discovers where they are keeping the girl he loves, Penny Dreadful, and the sword of his grandfather, who might have mystic powers. In a chamber dedicated to mystic weapons, they discover Ilya's gear and best friend Foster Hidden, who is a German ninja. Yeah, there's a couple of ninjas running around here. Together, they invade the harem and free the girls within, including Penny Dreadful. Ilya defeats one of the deathless host who yearns for death in vain by throwing a vampire at him. At the climax, the king of the Tower of Babel and his high sorcerer arrive on a massive submersible airship. The confrontation goes as the sorcerers predict, but then Ilya breaks their pattern and their control. Heroes escape even as the king demands their capture and reveals that their destination is the world of Javan, where the vampires hold sway. Somewhither is a great book. Hilarious sometimes, serious in others, and full of the good fight. It becomes better the more you decide that Ilya has very few points into intelligence and wisdom, and charisma isn't his best stat either. Otherwise, you might get a little frustrated at his antics sometimes. He's bold and courageous, but Lux just likes to kick him while he's down in a sort of forever sort of thing. It's like a perpetual motion machine of just groin shots every time. Gets one ball, then the other, and then both at the same time, and then it resets again. If John C. Wright is given an opportunity to make him suffer, he takes it. Ilya is immortal, and not in the conservation of matter type of immortal either. He can regenerate and speed it up with prayer, and it's perfectly in touch with the world that he inhabits. You see, every timeline is created based around the miracle performed by God. Say, for example, the flood, or um, being kicked out of the garden, or Christ coming. Quantum mechanics is rebuked here because they say that the vibrations of an atom might have the energy to create an entirely new timeline, where no, I don't think the vibrations of atoms have that sort of energy. Only a being of infinite energy and power can create an offshoot. Honestly, I like this idea way better than some of the other stuff like Steins Gate, which has infinite corridors of strange timelines, which are very not different from one another. or loops of Back to the Future. What's more, the world is fleshed out nearly perfectly. Mr. Wright put the right amount of thought and detail into the world. The art is always consistent, as are the designs of the machines and the enemy hats. I'm not even joking about the hats. Characters from Chaldea are of Chaldean aesthetics. The Egyptians are just perfect, and the vampires, cavemen, mermaids, the harem are all exactly as it should be. The philosophical prominence of things like the hanging booths, the torture pits, and the watching statues do wonders. Fate is fated in that world, and since we know our future, there is nothing that can be done to fight it. They are of one people, these Chaldeans. The Tower of Babel was never defeated in this timeline, and the languages were never confused. All needs to be conquered and brought into their oneness. Nothing is off the table for them. Even the civilizations they conquered are indeed conquered, but also they have their own look and civilization that persists. What's more, if you're familiar with hats or just overall design, you can tell which ones come from the Balkans or Turks, or others like the vampires have their own looks and sayings that make every encounter memorable. I've even adopted one of their sayings for my own. Every time they show up in the book, they talk about their thirst. I, even I am one of the ones who quaff blood like wine. It's got a perfect weight and slowness that a creature needs. And I say, even I am one of the ones who quaff ink like wine. And that holds true over just about all the encounters. Other memorable fights involve the Catman with a Turkic Balkan hat that could spit lem, quelling smoke from a pipe, and died, to a spear that expanded outwards with all kinds of fish hooks using smart metal. The fight with the caveman who could manipulate every cell of his body was a horror show in all the right ways. And any time werewolves start making Latin puns, just right. The lieutenants of the Dark Towers are as well thought out as the heroes, and John C. Wright is clearly setting up the opposite members and throwing them together. Despite their unity, they don't have the teamwork the heroes have in their individual agents. The evil villain version of Ossifrage looks exactly like he should and acts with all the gravity that he should. His powered explanation works as it should. The vampire with an immortal's heart in his stomach, Vervalac, has that vampire weight. The king looks splendid, and the high sorcerer looks despairing. In comparison, the group of heroes have pretty good banter and moral choices. Each has a purpose and a power that the author never forgets to use. Even Nakasu the Blim-Eye, who has purpose behind his beefy tank status as the Warp Gate controller. He even has wizardry through very specific philosophies and ideas that the source worlds hold uniquely. It's a masterclass of giving everyone something to do and removing certain characters when their absence would make it far more interesting. Honestly, the only bad bits come from the spirit that in which you read it. If you're not in it for a ride or take Ilya too seriously, you won't enjoy it when he does something stupid, and he will do something stupid. He has as much bad luck as he has stupidity. But honestly, it's fate likes to mess around with him as much as anything else, and eventually we'll find a limit on that mortality. I guarantee it. And I'm not saying that Fate is a sadist, but Fate has some non-wholesome ideas about Ilya's body autonomy and integrity. What's more, I have no clue about the romance. Sometimes it's 10 out of 10, and sometimes Ilya talks about his wall of pictures of Penny as she traveled around the world. I only hope Ilya takes it down or makes it less creepy when he shows her. If she comes to visit at all. Then again, I'm not really a good judge of romance. It's not something I'm good at. Take my saying with a grain of salt. At least it happens on screen and has a very proper progression. And I want to see something very specific. There's a lot of rape and stuff bandied about, like there's cruelty. There's cruelty in every level of this tower. But it never happens on screen or by good people. In fact, all this cruelty is entirely congruent with the world that the characters inhabit. You ain't seen patriarchy until you've seen the stars controlling every second of people's lives, such that they can paint footsteps on the floor to guide a person's walk. If everything is fated, all cruelty is moral. All hatred is legitimate, all love is replaced by fatalism, and desires are inconsequential compared to the power of the yet undefeated star gods. Please like, comment, and subscribe. The link will be down below in the doobly-doo. There's a sequel coming out soon, and I'm really excited for it. Check out my novel mentoring course on Fiverr, and as always, you are all wonderful. Thanks for watching.